live from Los Angeles, Theodore Gold, the most famous and celebrated author in America today.
This is Shelley Stein, my scumbag age. Mr. Scumbag to you?
You wrote a novel where the protagonist is a homeless serial killer. It's inspired.
Please do not buy this book. I'm finished writing books that sell only to Hollywood. From now on, I'm going to write literature. I'm going to write for myself.
Hey, baby. You go to your kundalini and your meditation every morning. Yo, what kind of man are you?
I think I'm onto something exciting. I was so into it. It was so good.
You're Ted Gold. You're like really famous, successful hack author.
You are so cynical.
Oh, it's not about cynicism. To art.
To integrity. This is Velocity. She is a great artist.
This hot new actress, Velocity, made television history.
She's not interested in money.
Yesterday, I was staging meaningful performances with maybe 35 people. And today, I'm a national sensation. What does that say about our culture?
This girl is a cross between Isadora Duncan and Lady Gaga.
You forgot Mother Teresa.
I'm gonna be on Jimmy Fallon.
Let's make some money on this before the freaking 15 minutes are up.
Bank account's frozen.
What? I'm homeless.
Sounds like some karma's catching up to you, man.
Oh, yeah.
You live in a sick world. I gotta like it.
It's really amazing what a difference a day makes. So what happened to integrity? You used me.
I'm an artist. That's what we do. Or have you forgotten?
Life is always in flux, knowing that we can remake ourselves every single day. What a long, strange trip it's been.
Hello?
Hello, Daniel?
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel. My name is William. We're calling you here from FilmSnobReviews.com. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
I'm a film snob myself, so.
Hey, that's good to hear. We love every sort of film snob, whether it's you're a horror movie junkie or what have you. We love them all. So let's get down to the brass tacks, shall we, Daniel?
Sure. Absolutely.
Why don't you go ahead and tell all the snobbies out there about an LA Minute? What's it about?
It's about celebrity and the abuse of celebrity and the fact that it's really quite frankly it's to me it's the consummate Trump era film. It sort of it tries to analyze the reasons why we're in the fix we are in the world right now because we seem to value celebrity over substance and the superficiality over substance and that's the major theme. I mean, one of the reasons why I keep cutting back and forth between homeless people and what our main characters are doing is because they're missing the point. There's a part of the film where the two main characters are in the building that Kiersey's character is squatting in, and she has a big poster of the sort of the iconic photo of the Vietnamese kid being shot in the head, and we have two different takes on it. Gabriel's character looks at it and says, that's so cynical, and she's saying, no, it's not about cynicism. It's about compassion. And the point is that we see tragedy every day. I live in the west side of LA, and I see homeless people all the time, and I see people in fancy cars driving by homeless people and not really looking or seeing the tragedy around them. And that's the problem. We don't see reality. We turn a blind eye to ugliness because we're so self-absorbed and we're so concerned with our own advancement and our own wealth and our own celebrity and so on and so forth that we just don't see what is really around us. And I think what is ultimately what the Kiersey's character says to Gabriel's character is, look, serve something bigger than yourself. That's the key to happiness here. It's not about feeding yourself. It's about feeding the world, feeding other people. Do something bigger than just yourself. That's the point.
I like that because I live here in Las Vegas, so I see that exact juxtaposition you're talking about everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's interesting. Look, it's an old theme to a certain extent. It's like, look, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, kind of thing. Lord Acton. But I mean, but by the same token, look, I have a friend who's a folk singer, and he years ago he wrote a song. It was an anti-war song, and someone came up to him at one point and said, why are you writing songs like that? It's such an old theme. Everybody knows that war is bad. What's the point of this song? And his reaction is, look, have we ended war yet? Because if we ended war, then I'll stop writing these songs. But until then, old theme or not, we still have to keep saying it. We still have to keep reminding people, and especially now. I mean, Ratso and I wrote this script 20 years ago, and it was so outrageous that we couldn't get any actor to play in it, even friends. Like at the time, we gave it to Chris Walken, and Chris was like, "Whoa, I can't do this film. It's too crazy." But time caught up with us, and now we have we have things on cable TV that are actually just as outrageous, and so it's more palatable now what's in the film, and as a result we were able to do that, and then all of a sudden Trump gets elected, and we're like, we got to get this script out of mothballs, and because it's more important now than ever to talk about this subject. Talk about why we're in the fix we're in right now, and if anybody sees the film, what I'd love for them to come away with is, look, wake up, look around you, look at reality, see what and try and get out of yourself and try and be more engaged in the rest of the world, and look at things more substantively. Look at things deeper, more deeply, because that's the key to a properly functioning society, and that's the key to individual happiness too. And so that's what I try to do with the film. We do our best. But
I like that you mentioned that. You wrote this with Ratso, who, after doing my research, I found was the editor at National Lampoon. Is that correct?
He is. Yeah, that's correct.
What's the process for you guys that you guys went through writing this thing over to 20-year process?
Well, we wrote it 20 years ago, and then we shelved it, and then we brought it back out. It used to be called a New York Minute, and we set it in New York 20 years ago, but it made more sense now to set it in L.A. because for a number of reasons. First of all, the whole Velocity character, that sort of downtown performance scene, no longer exists in New York, and it exists here in L.A. Secondly, the whole idea of homelessness. A couple of years ago, the mayor declared a state of emergency in L.A. About the homelessness issue, and said this is our number one, should be our number one priority. Of course, it's still the same. Not much has changed.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is he declared that a state of emergency, then raised rent prices all over Los Angeles. So
Yeah. I don't
know.
It's tough to get people to really engage in these issues.
I get it. Like I said, we see it here all the time. I wanted to mention, you mentioned that you originally set it in New York, but now it's in L.A. It seems like after you went through and edited it, L.A. became sort of a character. The people of L.A., the sights and the sounds of L.A. all kind of came in as like a character in this film. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the L.A. is definitely a character, and a lot of the humor is based on a lot of L.A. experience. But L.A. is just it's a metaphor. I mean, L.A. is a microcosm for the rest of the world. It's more intense here. You have this huge homelessness problem, and it's also one of the wealthiest cities in the world. So that juxtaposition is insane, in my opinion. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't know if I can change it, but at least as a filmmaker, the idea of the goal of a filmmaker, the goal of an artist, is to shed light on the human condition, to comment on it, to comment on what's going on in the world, and that's all we can do. That's all we can do, and maybe affect some change, maybe not.
I'd agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
one thing I wanted to. Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. I just wanted to mention you have such a talented cast on in here with Kiersey Clemons and Gabriel Byrne. I wanted to ask you what that was like getting them casted and working with them.
Well, Gabriel, especially Ratso, he's known Gabriel for many years. So he was sort of a natural. And then as far as Kiersey is concerned, I hadn't heard of Kiersey prior to this. And it's funny, I was asking my son, who's a stand-up comedian in L.A. He's got a show at the Hollywood Improv and so forth. And so he's sort of at the cutting edge pulse of this, of what's cool or whatever you want to call it. And I asked him one time. I said, "So who's really one of the hottest actresses in your generation?" And he said he didn't even flinch. He said Kiersey Clemons. And I'm like, "Who's that?" And he said, "Well, did you see Dope?" And I said, "Yeah." And so, well, she was the lead in Dope. And I said, "Well, that character, that she's not really right for this role." And he was like, "Dad, she's an actress. She can do whatever you want." I'm like, "Oh, of course, duh." Like I should know that. So I saw some other stuff she did, and I'm like, oh my God, this is she would be fantastic. So that's how that evolved.
That's a really good get. She's really good in the film, and she, in general, her body of work, especially Dope, she's fantastic in it.
She's fantastic, and she's got some really great stuff coming out too. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I wanted to mention something that I saw about you. You said that you wanted to shoot this on 35 millimeter, based on a quote by Spielberg that says, "Shooting on video is like painting with acrylics, but shooting on film is like painting with oil." I wanted to kind of go into that with you. What does it mean? What does that mean to you?
Well, film to me, and again, I've always shot on film since I began my career. I've never shot digitally, and I'm used to it. But there's a certain richness about the effect of film that and the quality of film that you don't get shooting on digital. Secondly, the process involved in shooting on film is different than video. And I could talk for hours on this subject, but let me give you a quick example for the sake of expediency. Let's say with film, you have a limited amount of film, and so you can't run out of that amount of film. Or you can't shoot anymore. So what you do is you rehearse a lot, and that's greatly appreciated by the cast and the crew. I mean, not just the cast, because they can rehearse until they get it right before we actually do a take. But also, like, for example, the dolly grip. When the dolly's moving and he wants to make sure that move is perfect. He doesn't want his bad work. He wants it perfected before we actually do a take. With video, you just shoot everything. Because there's no cost to it. It's just data on a hard drive. So you shoot rehearsals, we shoot everything, and the idea being, oh great, we'll just get everything and we'll use something. And people tend to not trust that process because they make a mistake and they go, oh, well, that was just a rehearsal. Yeah, but we got to do, part of it I can, it's just, or the camera operator, there was a bump on the track and that wasn't a good take. Yeah, but part of it was, we got it anyway. It's what it, and people don't, I love the process of film because you keep rehearsing till you get it right, and then
it's a more meticulous art form then.
Much more meticulous.
I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just the way I work, and and so it's just I'm more comfortable shooting on film than I am on video. But the joke was, where do we get a film loader? We have to go to the movie home, in Agoura Hills, to find someone who can load film in a Mac.
As a fan of film, I can tell you I appreciate when a filmmaker discusses the love of shooting on film. There's just a more organic feel to everything when you're shooting on film, and I really appreciate that. I had a couple more things I wanted to ask you about, just a couple rapid fire before we wrap it up here. Is that going to be okay?
Sure, of course, yeah.
All right. So the first thing I wanted to go into is some inspirations for you as a filmmaker. Whose stuff do you see, whether contemporary or classic, are the people you look at and say, I love what they're doing and they're inspiring my work?
Well, I can do it on two levels. One, just in general as a filmmaker, and then two, as what influenced me to make this film in particular. But in general, contemporary, the Coen brothers to me are genius. And it's interesting because GABRIEL was in Miller's Crossing, and it happens to be one of my favorite films of all time. Historically, David Lean and Billy Wilder.
Two of my favorites, actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I were as good as the people that I aspire to be.
Well, to be fair, those are two very different filmmakers. Wilder's doing more smaller films, and Lean's doing these gigantic 70 millimeter epics.
Well, yeah, you can tell. So I'm a little schizophrenic, but but it's interesting because they may work differently, but as far as what they're saying about humanity is very, very similar. So, like for example, Bridge Over the River Kwai. You spend 2.5 hours building this bridge that ends up just exploding in the end anyway. It's just
spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry, but but it talks about the futility of and that's a theme that's in L.A. Minutes, was this low budget film that you'd think it would have nothing at all comparable to one of the great films of all time, but it's the theme is similar, and the same thing with and Billy Wilder. There's one of the, as far as there were two movies that influenced me on this film. One was a really low-budget film from the 1970s by Robert Downey Sr. called Putney Swope. And that was a huge influence both on this one and a movie I did 28 years ago. I did with Sandra Bullock. It was called A Fool and His Money. And that was, they're both influenced by that Robert Downey Sr. Film, Putney Swope. And then also was Billy Wilder's 1, 2, 3, the James Cagney film.
Yeah, yeah.
Which to me, that sort of satire dealt with, both films dealt with some deadly serious issues that were, but it was done in a satirical way. And I think to me that's the only way to really present tragedy, is to do it through comedy.
I agree with you completely on that, because there's nothing more tragic than realizing that something is sad, but also being able to laugh about it. I think
right.
A catharticism to that.
It makes it more palatable for people to take in if it's done comedically.
So I had one more big thing I wanted to hit on and touch on, and that is, why would audiences want to check out an LA?
Because it's a reflection of what we're living through right now, and it's an analysis of what we're doing, and it it's not going to solve the world's problems, but it will allow people to reflect on why we are where we are, and what we can do in the future to avoid situations the way we're in. I mean, the world is in a fix. We elected a clown, and and that's what it's because we revere such superficial things, and so it's a reflection of that. It's an analysis of that. And to me, if people can go right away thinking, gee, maybe I should look a little more deeply at things, and maybe I should start to be concerned about other things and other people, and not just myself. Maybe we could get out of this mess we're in. And so to me, I mean, that's what art is about. It's about reflecting on those. On what's going on in the world right now, and that's what we're. So that's why I think people should just go see it, and because it's done in such a way that it's entertaining and funny, and you can laugh at stuff and then go, oh yeah, right.
There are some funny bits in there, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Now this does open in limited next week, right? The 24th of August, is that correct?
24th of August in New York and LA, and then much wider after Labor Day.
Excellent. So everybody be on the lookout for this one right here. It's been my absolute pleasure to speak with Daniel Adams, the director of an LA Minute today. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else you want to say to all the film snobs out there?
Keep being snobby, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to whatever you're doing next. I really do, because I actually really enjoyed this one.
Well, thank you. That's a big compliment. Thank you so much.
All righty. Bye-bye. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.